Chapter 4. When reciprocal zugzwang positions are lurking around, then great care is required. Here it is different than in Chapter 3, where the attacker used zugzwang as a weapon and could use it now or maybe later or whatever. This is completely different with reciprocal zugzwang positions, of course. Here both sides must act very precisely to make sure that the other is to move in the reciprocal zugzwang position. So Abel Zwanske, German Bundesliga 2013, is winning for white, but he must be careful. And of course, reciprocal zugzwang occurs quite often in pawn endings, but there are also other possibilities, as I will show later. But let's start with this pawn ending. King h5 wins, h4 wins as well, but king f5 would already blow it. Now white will always end up on the wrong side of the reciprocal zugzwang, for example here. And now reciprocal zugzwang with white to move, and so is a draw. Black to move would be losing. So really great care and precision in the calculation of variation is required here for the attacker and the defender. This is a difference to Chapter 3, where often the attacker has more freedom, like for example mate with king and rook against king. Okay, he uses zugzwang as a weapon, but he doesn't have to be that precise as here. Here, every move really counts. It's very, very. So h4 is still playable. It wins, but now you must calculate white to move and win. Calculate to the end. King e4, walking around the mine square e5, and king d5, and now, black is lost. White threatens king d6, king e7, so king g6 must be played, and now reciprocal zugzwang with black to move. Black loses. This is the reason why white walked around e5. The f7 pawn falls in that zone. In the game, Dennis Abel played h5, and now it's a draw. Now black's counterplay is always quick enough, and after some further moves, a draw was agreed. Another example is Kaczynskaya Muzyczuk, Rogaska Satina 2011. White to move and draw. And okay, as an exercise, it wouldn't be that good. King e3 is also playable, but going to the pawn endgame is okay. And now white had calculated correctly that she is drawing by the only move king c4 and king c5. So c5 and e6 are corresponding squares, and c4 and f6, and black cannot win now, as white has made sure that it's always black's move in the reciprocal zugzwang positions. And c4 and f6 were corresponding squares, so it is a draw. Black after king e6, again king c5 is played. No progress is possible, and so she played. Maria Muzyczuk played e4, and after some further moves, a draw was agreed. Now it's of course a theoretical draw. You should know this pawn endgame theory by heart. It's also about reciprocal zugzwangs later, by the way, of course. They occur very often in pawn endgames. Jobava Petrosyan, Lake Sewan 2011, is won for white to move, but white must be careful. White must use zugzwang as weapon of the attacker and avoid into falling into the reciprocal zugzwang. So, in the spirit of Chapter 3, c5 wins. King c4, black is in zugzwang and loses. And white wins their pawn first and the game later. But king c3 would spoil it. Now it is a draw. Because black plays king c6. And in the reciprocal zugzwang position, which results after the break, c5, it is now white to move. and the spare tempo b3 is not there anymore. Yeah, spare tempi would of course be good in such reciprocal zugzwang positions. That's clear. This you must you must make sure that your opponent doesn't have additional spare tempi. So here it's a draw. This also looks like a reciprocal zugzwang at first sight, Fani Alapin, but in fact white is always winning no matter who is to move, and this you should know. The winning method is called triangulation. So black to move would be lost directly. White must play king d5, that's clear. So we have already established that these are corresponding squares, excuse me, and these are also corresponding squares. Okay, but what about d4 and c4? White can move to both squares, so black, yeah, it's clear that these are the corresponding squares. White can move to d5 and c5, black to c7 and c8, but white's squares are connected and black's aren't. And as black's king can't fly, he's now in zugzwang. So you must develop some intuition when it is a reciprocal zugzwang and when the attacker always wins by some kind of maneuver like this. The general theory governing this in pawning is a theory of corresponding squares, but it is probably not necessary that you go into too much detail as the difficult positions don't arise in practice. It is sufficient if you know opposition and triangulation and easy cases like I've shown in this chapter here. Yeah. So here it looks like a reciprocal zugzwang at first sight, but in fact white is always winning due to the triangulation. Yeah, but okay, a reciprocal zugzwang also occur, of course, in other endgames. Battaglini, Fressinet, Corsica 2011, white to move and win. And now you have been warned. The knight is dominated and king d3 wins. After king d6, it's then black's move in the reciprocal zugzwang position and it's over. So white's king will invade to e5. While in the game, white chose king d4, and after king d6 he was on the wrong end of this reciprocal zugzwang and it's a draw. After c4 the knight can regroup to the strong blockading position on c5 and it's a draw. A typical method against the bishop. And of course the defender must always make sure not to fall into zugzwang. But here black always has enough moves and can in some variations even start a counterplay against the f4 pawn. Yeah, this is a fortress draw. And in the game, yeah, a sell-up scenario occurred. Now the knight is free, and even the bishop is a bit restricted, and in the game even was dominated, and so the game was drawn late. So, yeah, reciprocal zugzwang can also occur in other endgames, not only in pawn endgames. But there, yeah, it's more seldom and more often is the case from chapter 3 that zugzwang is a weapon of the attacker, a very sharp one, in fact.